Hi Sam,
Hey,
how are you?
good.
Okay, so we have like I don't know how many questions, like six maybe.
Sure.
Mm, so we
All right.
want you to tell us how has your experience as a professional player, Pokemon TCG, happened?
So sorry that you cut out halfway through. How's my experience
As a
as?
professional player in Pokemon TCG.
Yeah, well, I think so. No, the experience has definitely been great. I definitely enjoy traveling around the world and playing a game that I really enjoy playing.
Yeah.
And so it's nice. It's nice getting getting some prize support along the way to help pay for my Pokemon adventures. I think it's definitely a time commitment, though. I think you have to decide whether you want to become, I guess, professional, or you want to do it full time. I personally don't do it full time.
Okay.
In fact, I have a full time job outside of Pokemon, and I play. I like to say it's a hobby, but yes, I do. I do make some money off of it, so I am technically a professional player.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of curious, like, how do you do with your time? I mean, how do you get permission every time you have to travel and what
Yeah,
kind
so
of your
I'm in like I'm in a unique position because I have a work from home job.
Oh, okay.
So I mostly work. Uh, well, even if I weren't playing Pokemon, I'd be working from home. So I'm
Okay.
able to travel to different places, and I just need to tell my boss, hey, like I'm going to be flying this Friday to somewhere else. And I do a lot of work in airports, airport lounges, and just try to, when I do have the time to work, just try to be as efficient as possible. But definitely, it's
Yeah,
sometimes a challenge, especially when there's a lot of tournaments and consecutive weekends,
yeah.
to not fall behind and work as well.
Okay. But yeah, you're like kind of really lucky that you don't really have to like be in a schedule and 9 to 5 kind of job. So you like,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I definitely feel lucky, yeah, because I mean I'm in a salaried position where it's project based, so basically there's certain deadlines that I
Okay.
need to hit, or hopefully that I hit, and I just have to make sure the work is done before then. So I have a little more flexibility. So for
Yeah.
example, after this call with you, I'm going to work for a couple more hours tonight to try to finish something. So
Okay. Well, so
yeah.
let's do this quickly so you don't have to stay up too late. So,
No, I mean I sleep quite late. I'm a night owl. I prefer to sleep late, so I
yeah,
don't mind.
yeah, I get it. I'm like the same. So, our second question is, how was your experience playing in Latin America? Like, I mean, it's different from Europe or North America. Or, well, I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's there's definitely a different. I think there's definitely a different culture when you play Pokemon in Latin
Hmm.
America. I think people. I don't know if friendly is the right word, but people are a lot more excited
Okay.
than they are in other places. I know at the Cancun
Hmm.
special event where I met you guys.
Hmm.
There was live music playing basically the entire
Yeah.
tournament. Uh, there was like a dance contest, like a K-pop dance contest the
Yeah.
second day. There was like a whole convention. So I thought the atmosphere there was pretty amazing. Um,
Okay.
and I think I, compared to, I haven't actually played in Europe all that much. I've only ever played one tournament in my life in
Okay.
Europe, which was the international championships this year. But
Okay.
compared to the U.S., definitely, I think the it's a much more festive atmosphere at some of the Latin American tournaments I've been at, and I
Okay.
do enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. We're like known to be more like joyful and I don't know. We're kind of less serious than maybe other continents, and I think it makes sense that you feel it that way.
Yeah, I definitely would like to go back next year if depending on even if the point structure changes, I'll try to make it to a couple tournaments in Latin America, just to have a vacation, I guess.
Yeah, we're be hoping you here. So our third question is, how do you build your deck or decks before an event?
That's a great question. So it's surprisingly simple because honestly, there aren't that many new ideas that come out week to week, right? So Buzzwall, for example, right now, Buzzwall has been good for 2-3 months since the rotation, and it's going to continue being good for North American International Championships. So looking at the past results, I mean, we see a high concentration in Buzzwell, Malamar, and Zoroark decks doing well.
Yeah.
So most of my preparation involves doing research on what lists have won, what techs they ran. So for example, Mark Lutz ran a Buzzgarb list in Sheffield with Rainbow Energies and Trashalanche Garbodor. So like knowing about those types of decks and thinking through whether that'd be a good play or not. For example, Pablo won the Mexico City special event, the second one, with 2 Mews and 1 Latios in his list. So he's really tried to put in cards to beat Buzzwall, and he was somewhat successful. Pablo played Zoropod. Sorry, Pablo didn't. It was the regionals that Pablo played Zoropod again, and I think he went some positive record against Buzzwall. Once again, running his Mews, 2 Mews, and Latios. So knowing how the lists are changing week to week and trying to figure out what deck is positioned, what deck is well positioned in a particular week. There's also a lot of talking between to other players. I talked to a bunch of players to get a feel for what other people are thinking about. I mean, honestly, most of the time I don't prepare all that much. I mean, if you think about it, in the past 3 months, I've maybe spent 9 or 10 out of the 12 or 13 weekends at tournaments.
Yeah.
So I get good testing just playing in events. I get to see a bunch of decks and play a bunch of games. So it's I used to want to get more creative with decks and kind of test and come up with fun ideas, but now it's become for me so much of a time investment that I just don't have time to really test something new. I've been testing a couple interesting things for North America International Championships, but I don't know if they're good enough to be played.
So you're gonna go for sure, like with the secure option, or?
So it would. I've told this to people. It would take a lot for me not to play either Buzzwole, Zoroark, or Malamar in my deck.
Okay.
I would really have to find like a very, very good alternative to not play one of those 3 cards. So it's a matter of what am I playing. So the one thing it's not that much of a secret, so I'll talk about it. The one thing that I've played a few games with in the past week is the Malamar deck with Rainbow Energies.
Wow, yeah, so I haven't seen it here.
Yeah, you can play Sudowoodo to beat Zoroark. You can play alternate Krozma because you have Rainbow to take the metal cost. You can play Shaman to one-shot Lycanroc. So I mean, I've been trying that out. It's not as good. It's not that good. But I mean, I rarely get a chance to try out decks in the middle of the week. So I haven't been to a tournament for 3 weekends now. So I've had a little bit of time to do a little testing on the side. But right, most of my tournament preparation is research about other lists that I've done well.
Okay.
Nowadays, it becomes especially easy to do it with Limitless posting all the lists of top 32 decks.
True.
And Arcanine Labs also released its top 32 decks as well.
So I guess that's kind of the answer for our next question. That is, how much time do you usually dedicate to testing before an event? And what are the main details you focus your testing on? But I guess you already answered that.
Yeah, well, I can give you a more concrete answer to that specific question. In terms of like the amount of time testing, if I have a couple weeks off between tournaments, I'll try to play a best of 3 against myself or against a friend, once or twice a week. If I'm going to a tournament like back to back, because in May and June I went to tournaments in 7 straight weekends.
Wow.
So I really just test the Friday when we get there. I test for maybe 4 or 5 hours that Friday.
Okay.
And the focus of my testing is basically playing the top decks. I'll usually try to play 1 or 2 decks that I think could be good, but maybe isn't tier 1. But you generally just playing the new lists to see, if we can,
okay.
see what deck is the right to play.
Yeah. So we have like a kind of a personal question. Like,
Sure.
In your opinion, what's the best way improve as a player? How did you do it to get it here where you are now?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think there's different levels, right? If I think
Yeah.
if you're a newer player in a country like Colombia where the organized play scene isn't as developed, I think the best way is to try to play online.
Okay.
Um, Try to play online on PTCGO, grind some games in. I know you don't get great testing on PTCGO, but getting the volume of games is really important. I think just to develop some of the intuitions for sequencing or understanding how to manage your energy attachments, things like that. Things like that. You like, for example, playing Zoroark, learning what to trade away, what you can and can't trade away. That comes with experience playing the deck, many times.
Yeah.
I think if you're in a country where there's a lot more tournaments, honestly, try to go to as many tournaments as you can, especially the more competitive tournaments.
Yeah.
Because you really get better at the game by playing against better people and getting beat, and then understanding what you did wrong and improving next time. I mean, I even still do that, like make mistakes with new decks that I haven't touched. So, for example, at Madison, I played like a Buzzwall, the baby Buzzwall deck with 3 baby Buzzwall, 2 Buzzwall GX. I was actually playing against Michael Pram a lot in day 2, and I Guzma'd the wrong thing. Like I knew it one turn later that I should have killed the Deancey when I had a chance.
Yeah.
But I killed like another target that I thought maybe was better, but I realized like a turn later that the damage was just so important. So like it's things like that. If I played against the weaker player, I might have beat him anyway, just because he wasn't going to be playing perfectly. But against Pram, I lost that game because I didn't kill the NC the turn I had a chance to. And so like that's a mistake that I haven't made since that tournament. So really, it's playing against better competition, making mistakes and learning from them.
Yeah, well, I guess like they say, like practice makes perfect. So I think that applies in everything in life, even Pokemon TCG.
Another important thing in Pokemon is develop an intuition for what you should do in certain situations. Like sometimes it's hard to explain, but sometimes you have to make a decision. Like, do I make the risky play this turn? Like, do I Sycamore away, 2 energies and my Rescue Stretcher and a Guzma just to try to hit the knockout this turn? If I don't hit it, can I still win? Or if I play conservatively, hold on to all these cards, and make a different play, does my opponent now have a huge advantage? So it's like building an instinct for what decision to make in those situations where you have to either make a call to go for it or play conservatively. I think that's something that happens with experience. I'm also like one of the more conservative players, I think, among the top players in the US. I like to hold on to as long as I can. Sometimes I lose because of that, because I just like get rolled over because I should have maybe taken a risk earlier. But I mean, you live and you learn. So.
Yeah, I guess you should learn to trust your gut a little bit more.
Yeah. But people say trust your gut, right? But you build that intuition based on, I've probably played thousands of games. Maybe, I don't know if 10,000 is an overestimate, but I've definitely played thousands of games in my life.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the gut feeling is just, having experienced a lot of different situations and understanding what I need to do in those situations.
Yeah.
And gut does come into it a lot. Like, for example, in the deck I played for the first Mexico City SP, a lot of people were playing 4-3 Malamar, but I had the experience playing Eels before, so I knew that like 4-4 was, you had to play 4-4 because you can prize Malamar, and just it's hard to get the second one out if you prize one.
Yeah.
So like things like that, experience does help, and the only way to build that experience is to go to tournaments.
Yeah, that's really, really true. Our next question is, what did you think of the organized game and the farming of points? There was, I don't know if you heard about it, but we had an special event in Bogota in March, I think it was.
Yes.
And people were like freaking out about it because it gave 200 points. And well, it was just 32 people, and I don't remember his name, Caleb Gadamer, I think it's called.
Yes.
Yeah, he won it. Some people were like, you just go there and steal their points, and so we had like that kind of scandal in our community, in our local community here. So I want to know, what do you think about that farming
Well,
points?
I was actually one of the first people to come out and say something against the current structure. And honestly, I think it's the structure we were dealt this year. They didn't restrict best finish limits or where you could play. So I mean, I personally also took advantage of the system. I went to Indonesia, went to Mexico for a couple special events as well. I think I got 530 points from overseas.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I mean, I'm definitely a beneficiary of the system as well. But I will say Pokemon does want to grow the game internationally, but one of the things that I think needs to happen in the future is better communication earlier about what the structure is. So when they announced the structure for day 2, I mean, I don't think it's competitively fair if they say, well, hold on, there's going to be 14 American regionals, and then who knows, in April and May, who knows what you can do to get points.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a very fair way to go about, deciding who your top 16 or top 22 players are in each region, or top 8 players. On the other hand, I do understand that the game needs to grow internationally. There have been a lot of things that have been thrown out, a lot of ideas that have been thrown out, from going back to a system where there's a best finish limit, or region locking special events to give local players a chance to get the big points. I'm personally in favor of restricting points to a particular region. I know that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then better defining those regions. So, like, for example, if I go to Indonesia and get 200 points, I now have 200 points in Oceania.
Yeah.
I'm also for more international region, like more of the international level events.
Yeah.
That could also be I guess that could also be a solution. Just to, if Pokemon wants to grow internationally, why not throw a big regional in Bogota with the same same pricing structure, and like invite all your North American players to go. Don't put another event on that day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that if we were just clear at the beginning of the year what you could do. And I think the second thing, unrelated to this, is that, or sort of related, but unrelated to the actual fairness in the structure, is I think that Pokemon shouldn't have a structure that makes kids do this chase, or incentivizes kids to do this chase. So if you're 18, and you're in college, it's your call. If you want to go, if you want to skip school to go to regional, like, that's your call.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of kids missing days of school this year, chasing, a lot of juniors and seniors especially, chasing whatever it is they want to chase, however many points and finishes. I don't know if that's super healthy or super good for Pokemon to incentivize kids to do that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of solutions. I will say, like, the Indonesian event that I won this year, I think it was announced, never put on the website. They updated the regionals page to include it after the tournament had already finished. I found out about the event through a friend who lived in Asia, and said, oh, they posted this on an Asian-only site. So that site was actually inaccessible from North America. That's how I found out about it. I don't know if that's super good, that that's how they disseminate information about tournaments. I'm excited for the international growth of the game. I do hope that there'll be more opportunities for people to travel and play internationally. I just hope it's a structure that's a little more fair and balanced. It doesn't require people to travel for 7 straight weeks or whatever it is. I know some of my American friends went to like 9, 10 straight events. Sometimes I think someone did like 10 events in 11 weeks or something like that. Whoa. So I don't know if that's healthy. You're gonna burn out.
I don't think it's healthy. Yeah. The other thing about the same thing is, um, a lot of people were like mad about the fact that we, as like Latin American players, only need 250 points to be able to go to the Worlds. And well, on that same like discussion about the special event here in Bogota, a lot of people were like, I don't know how to put it, like they didn't think it was fair for us to have to do a lot less points to get there. Like they thought like we have like some kind of advantage because we only need like 250, and that's not a lot. But I think people don't really understand that we don't have like
how many events?
Yeah, exactly. We don't get like every week an event that gives us like, I don't know how many does a cup give, like 25, 50, and we get that
50.
Yeah, and we get that like every 3 months if we're lucky. So I don't know, I think the people in the States more than any others don't really realize how difficult it is for us to like be able to go there. I mean, like there's only like 2 Colombians that have gone to the Worlds, and you watch in BTG, no one has ever go there for TCG. So
I definitely think money plays a larger impact for a lot of other regions of the world. I think I'm very fortunate to live in North America when it comes to chasing an invite, because of the opportunities to play and where the bar is at 400. It's very reasonable this year to have gotten your invite going to only, say, 2 or 3 regionals, and so that's because you have league cups within 2 to 4 hours driving distance every weekend, more or less, when there's not a regional. So it's definitely, I think, costs less to get an invite, and than it does. I am considering if I want to spend more time in Taiwan next year. I think I'm going to spend maybe at least 2 to 3 months in Taiwan, and I'm going to go to a lot of the Oceania tournaments. And I think that's another region where there's a real cost constraint, because Australia has almost no league cups. They have like 2 league cups per state per quarter, and Australia is huge. I definitely think that 250 is not too high. And when I was talking about the money issue, is that, well, if you live in one of these regions where it's 250 and you have the ability to travel, then it becomes really easy. Like if you can fly somewhere for, if you can fly to all the South American special events and regionals, it becomes really easy to get 250. For someone who doesn't have the money to travel that much, it's very hard. So there's definitely a larger spectrum of how easy or hard it is, even for 250.
So I think that brings us to our next question. That is, what do you think Latin America needs to settle itself as a strong region in the organized game? Like, what should we do? What do you think we should do?
No, I mean, you guys are a strong region, right? The most recent world champion came from Latin America. I don't think anyone. I think the top level players in Latin America are just as good as the top level players. The question is obviously the frequency. The amount of top level players there are is definitely less than some of the regions. I think what helps being in North America is every weekend I have to play against some of the best players in the world. Like, I go to regionals. I think the past 3 or 4 regionals. I mean, I'm picking on Pram a little bit, but just in the last like 7 regionals, I think in the US, I've played Pram like 4 times. In 7 regionals, and once was in round 1 and once was in round 2, so like it wasn't even deep in the tournament. So I mean, you get to really play against the best, so you really learn how to get better, like what I talked about, building the experience and playing against top level players. And I think maybe people in Latin America don't get as much of that, right? Because let's say you play in a small area with 70 people or 80 people active players, and you're the best player in that region. Well, you're not going to really improve that much because no one's really giving you competition to improve. Whereas
Yeah.
if you're in an area with a couple, with North America, I would say, has an active player base about maybe 2,000, 2,500 players, and you get the top level of those players going to every event.
Yeah.
You're gonna get better just by playing against them.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's tough. I do hope the game grows. I think one thing that could potentially help is to give easier incentives for people in Latin America. So an idea has been thrown around recently, which I think is quite good, which is to give invites by country. Give day 1 invites by country.
Wow.
Maybe even day 2 invites. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it ensures representation in Worlds. So for example, I think it was top 4 at Russian Nationals this year got a day 1 invite. I think that's the case. I don't exactly remember. And I think it was also top 4, maybe top 2 at South African Nationals. Also got invites to day 1. I might be confused. I don't know the exact parameters. I think that's correct. But that's also a way to do it, right? So for example, there could be a local Colombian circuit series. So for example, Pokemon can say between the months of February and June, the Colombians who have received the most points in the 6 League Cups and 1 special event held in Colombia, the top 2 of those players by points will get a day 1 invite, or maybe top 4, because they're giving out day 1 invites like hotcakes this year. So, I mean, they can give out 4, right? That incentivizes more people to go and keep competing, and then once you get people in the door, that's how you can get become a better player, or get people on a higher average level. Just some thoughts. I don't know how feasible it is. I don't work with. I don't have insight into the organizational mechanics.
Yeah.
Although.
You already answered our next question, because it was actually, how do you think we could make people come and play? How do we do to attract new players and to grow our community? And I think you already answered that, but I don't know, that's actually one of the most difficult problems we have here, and it's that community is I don't know, 40 people maybe, and it's really fluctuant. I mean, we're lucky if we have a 30-player local tournament, and we're actually you actually met the top 3 players in Cancun. That's top 3 players in Colombia, so it's kind of a really big issue here, that we don't really have a strong community, a large strong community. So we, well, as you say, we can really improve, because we're not really playing with any more good players. So
yeah, I mean, more support definitely. I mean, I think, I don't know how feasible this is, but maybe reaching out to players that you've met at tournaments, trying to play online. I don't play online all that much, but I guess I could play more with better cause to play against, or better use of my time to play against players in areas where there isn't much representation. But I think maybe just playing more online to improve. But I do think improving as a player is a very different question than growing the game, growing the community. I honestly think there's a lot of ways to do it. Sometimes I know some communities in the US, back 10 years ago, started growing because of a very dedicated tournament organizer, a very dedicated store that kept willing to support Pokemon. I don't know if there's that person in Colombia.
Not really.
I mean, sometimes it comes from support from Pokemon. I mean, you saw the increase in attendance this year when Pokemon's supporting more regionals with real prizes. I don't know what that means for Colombia. Maybe it's about being able to let the same store hold more than 1 League Cup. every quarter in
Okay.
smaller countries.
Yeah.
That's I don't have the authority to do that, obviously. But
Yeah.
in the U.S., if you let a same store hold more than one League Cup, you're just going to have a lot of 15-person League Cups or 10-person
Yeah.
League Cups. But in an area where there's only a couple stores supporting the game, maybe it's worth it to give people more opportunities to play.
Yeah.
So it's tough to say, but I could definitely. I know we've talked about this on we've been messaging, but I can come down to Colombia for a week next year, even if it's for a League Cup or something, and play with people.
Yeah. Well, that's you keep answering our questions ahead of.
Am I doing that? Okay.
Yeah. Well, our next question was actually if we were going to have next special event in Colombia or something like. Would you like to come? But you already answered that.
Yeah, I mean, I would fly to Colombia. I mean, if there were people to hang out with and
well,
something productive I can do, I would go there for a League Cup. I would go there for I would just go there for vacation, honestly. We'll see what the schedule is. I definitely like the trend this year that a lot of Latin American countries got one special event. I don't know exactly the ones. Ecuador got one. Who got one? Is that correct? No.
Well, I don't really know if we're gonna have.
Yeah, but there were a lot more SPs this year in Latin America.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't really know either.
So maybe next year you guys will get two, and I'll try to make it down for one of them.
Yeah, we hope so. Actually, we're really looking forward to go to Worlds someday. Maybe next year. Hopefully next year.
Yeah, no, it's definitely I think a good goal to strive for. I hope to. I think it would be a great accomplishment if Colombia could send a few people to Worlds next year. And Worlds is a great atmosphere, and it just feels different than even international championship. The atmosphere, everything, it feels a lot more. I don't know. Feels like there's a lot more at stake. I certainly hope you guys are able to grow the game enough and travel enough to get to.
We hope
to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's all we have to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me on.
Thanks to you. We really are grateful that you took the time to do this for us. I think it's gonna be like a great opportunity for us to grow our channel and our Twitch stuff. It's a channel also, yeah.